So this article is a few months old now, but I couldn't help but be impressed at the level of intellectual dishonesty this author demonstrates in a piece called Stop Pretending Sex Never Hurts. It's written by a woman named D.C. McAllister, and quite coincidentally, she studied systematic theology and Christian history at Reformed Theological Seminary in Florida. So her political views will align with that. Now, in the article, she says, every day we hear about something that is harmful to us, something the government needs to regulate or outlaw, something for which an avalanche of public service announcements must be unleashed on the American people as they drive home from work, watch television, or scan their favorite websites. For example, don't eat sugar, you'll get diabetes and die. Don't smoke, you'll get lung cancer and die. Don't stop at McDonald's, you'll get fat and die. Meanwhile, there's not a peep about one of the most dangerous activities people engage in all the time: premarital sex, or extramarital sex, or dare I say the word fornication. Does that make me sound too judgmental? No, it makes you sound too Christian. What you mean here is promiscuous sex. It has nothing to do with actually being married, because anyone in a monogamous relationship has the same partner, which is identical to a marriage in that sense. So what you have here is obviously pushing your ideology on the readers of this article. But you go further than just that, and I'm going to show you why it gets out of hand. She cites some statistics later on down. One of the more relevant ones is that more than 400,000 teen girls aged 15 to 19 years old gave birth in 2009. And while teen birth rates are at a historical low, the teen birth rate in the United States remains one of the highest among industrialized nations. Now, I think it's great that it's actually going down, and she should too, but she seems to just gloss over it and focus on the fact it remains one of the highest among industrialized countries. Now, why do you think that is? I mean, obviously these kids are being taught to be just as promiscuous as they wish, right? Well, not exactly. According to Wikipedia, most nations of Western Europe, in other words, the majority of other industrialized countries, use more comprehensive measures, and in sharp contrast to the heated discussion in the U.S., abstinence education is hardly discussed as an educational measure, abstinence is what the author here is advocating for. Did you catch that? Abstinence in Western Europe, an industrialized country, is hardly discussed as an educational measure. They use comprehensive measure. But McAllister clearly doesn't see it this way. And she sums up, people have a right to know. Yes, a woman has the right to do what she wants with her body. Yes, men and women can engage in all kinds of sexual behavior if they want to, but does that mean we should ignore the consequences, remain silent to the costs, refuse to issue warnings because we're afraid we'll be called judgmental or worse? If we're going to warn people of the perils of big gulps and french fries, shouldn't we warn them of the dangers of sex? If we're going so far as to ban sugary drinks and salt, shouldn't we at least advocate abstinence? We do advocate abstinence. The Wikipedia entry for sex education in the United States goes on to say only 2 forms of sex education are taught in American schools. Quote, abstinence plus and abstinence-only. Abstinence plus, also known as comprehensive sex ed, covers abstinence as a positive choice, but also teaches about contraception and the avoidance of STIs when sexually active. A 2002 study conducted by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that 58% of secondary school principals described their sex education curriculum as abstinence plus. So, barely over half of schools in America, in the United States, actually teach comprehensive sex education. Okay? Just a little over 50%. And right away, you have Christians whinging on about how they're not being taught abstinence in school. For crying out loud. Are you for real? Seriously. Because earlier on in her article, she went on about how STIs were just getting out of hand. On the STI Wikipedia page, they even go on to say that the most effective way of preventing STIs is by not having sex. In other words, abstinence. How much confirmation do you need from the people around you before you're satisfied? I mean, in America, where you live, the education is clearly taught in a manner consistent with your beliefs and consistent with the way you think it should be taught, and you're still not happy because 58% of them are teaching that and a little bit more. Thank you for listening. Until next time, farewell. Come